I recently joined Reddit because I thought I would branch out into a few other social medias, build a brand, get things flowing a little better. And I made some posts, made some comments, read a few things, and something occurred to me that it seems that in the modern day especially, a lot of people put the story of D&D before the game of Dungeons and Dragons. And I think this is a mistake. Now, of course, this is just my opinion, but Dungeons and Dragons is a game. Now, because of the mechanics of the game and the way it is played, it will naturally generate a story. But when the story becomes the focus of the game, I think that something's lost. I think if we put the game first, that there will be less issues in play. There are some major issues. People have talked about it before, and I may make a more in-depth video later. But the two biggest things, and it's really the same issue. The same problem, just on the one hand, the player who tries to make the game all about them, we call this main character syndrome, where they think that everybody is just there to build them up. And if anybody does anything to interfere with their story, they get mad. And on the other hand, we have the same issue with the DM, who is just there to tell his story, and the players are there as witnesses and facilitators, and they better do what he wants them to do in order to make his story progress the way he wants it to. Now, this is the same issue. And this is an issue that arises from making the story the most important part of Dungeons and Dragons. The game should always be the most important part. And in my personal opinion, my personal preference is not even to have an overarching story that covers the entire game. I would prefer a game where you play one adventure. That adventure has a story to it because you have an end goal, and you have different obstacles and puzzles and combats, whatever, to get through in order to achieve that end goal. But once that adventure is over, the next adventure has nothing to do with it. It's just another adventure. And we get this series of adventures or series of short stories. That's the way I would prefer to play most of the time. And I think it's a more enjoyable way to play because it is playing the game. It is not using the game as a tool to tell your story. It is playing the game. And I will also say that in my experience, the most memorable games I have played are the ones that we played the game, not the ones in which a story was told. Now, not to say that I don't remember some stories. I've built stories myself, I've played in stories, but the games that are most memorable and are the ones that most people talk about and most people tell stories about are when you were playing the game, not when you were telling a story. An example of a brief story that still stays with me, but is a story of how we played the game. And this was, let us set the stage. This is, first of all, remember, this is for 3.5. Dungeons and Dragons Edition 3.5. Keep that in mind. We have the story. The city has been ravaged by a cataclysm. The local orcs have this giant siege tower being pulled by 100 oxen. 4 rows of 25 oxen each, pulling this massive siege tower coming to attack the city. Our party has been tasked with setting up the city for defense, but we don't have enough time. They're coming too fast. So me, playing a rogue, a human rogue, 5 constitution, so at level 4, I had 7 hit points. I have to go out there and slow these guys down. That's my task. And it doesn't take very long in-game, but I go out there, I've got a vial of acid, so I lay down in the grass, hiding myself in the tall grass. I let the oxen move up on either side of me, and I dump the acid along the yoke that holds the oxen to the tower. The acid eats through the yoke, breaking it. The tower is halted until the orcs can fix the yoke. Once my task is done, I jump up and I run. No stealth, I just run. All out. I want to get out of range of their attacks as fast as I can. But remember, I've only got 7 hit points. Now, I'm a pretty fast guy. I've got a decent armor class. So all these orcs are shooting arrows at me, and almost all of them miss. But just as I get to the very limit of their range, one of them hit me. I mean, one more turn and I would have been out of range, been safe. It hit me. And it dealt 7 damage even. This drops me to 0 hit points. But those who are familiar with 3.5 know that at 0 hit points, I still get to make 1 action. Now, I clarified this with the GM because I wanted to play the game right. The GM, I dropped to 0 hit points. The GM was excited. I'd been a bit of a annoying player to him because I played the game too well. And so he was excited that he was finally going to drop me. It was the first time, I think it might have been the first time I was actually hit in combat. He was excited that it was his chance to take my character out. And so I clarified, I'm at 0 hit points. I get 1 action. And he says yes, because we're playing the game. So for my 1 action, I drink a healing potion. But I am now out of range of the orcs, and I make it away. That moment in the game was very memorable for everybody there. Everybody, all the players started, the GM was laughing. Everybody was laughing. The GM just threw up his hands, all exasperated. Oh, great, yeah, of course you have a healing potion. We let the game be played. However the story played out, that's how it played out. But that moment where I was able to play the game the way it was meant to be played, and the GM let me play the game the way it was meant to be played, that's the moment that we all want. After that, we went into some negotiations with the orcs and eventually created a piece, and the story that the GM wanted played out a bit. But the details of the story, at least I know I don't remember them. I doubt anybody else in the game does. But we all remember the moment when playing the game resulted in a great story. So when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, play the game and let the story develop on its own as you play. Don't try to make the game fit the story. Anyways, I will leave that here. If there's anything else you want me to talk about in a future video, let me know in the comments. I am planning a comparison of classes, which will start next week. And if there's anything else you want me to talk about, any questions you have, let me know. And please like and subscribe and share the videos. I'd like to get a wider audience. Let's see what we can do.